And a good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. Temperature has changed 10 degrees since I came in here about 5:45. It was 64 degrees.
I like that.
I like that, too. A little crisp in the morning. 75 degrees is what we got right now. Nice weather for the first week of August. Football practice should be pretty good for these high school kids because it's not bad out there.
No, it's in the mid-80s, and like you said, mid-upper 80s, not the humidity we had last week,
Yep.
And I guess, football in shorts, it's a good week to start out. You're right.
And looks like the long-range forecast kind of looks the same. So I think to get started, now we're not done with warm weather by any means,
No.
I can assure you.
No.
Because it'll stay hot on up into September.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how
But
that
I
goes.
don't think 98 degrees
Oh,
and
no.
high humidity.
You'll
I
have
think.
some 90s, but
Yeah.
not a tremendous
Low
amount,
90s.
I wouldn't think. No.
And even it was you or Kiever or somebody down a month or so back said that this was going to be a little bit cooler than normal summer.
The forecast originally
Long range.
was for a cooler, wetter
Well, that's
summer,
true.
but we hadn't had a ton of rain here lately. Had some rain, Sunday afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit of rain came through. Big Brian, good morning. Glad to have you with us, sir. Thanks for joining in. Glad to have you guys with us on a special Wednesday morning edition. Looks like Juju and I will be moving to Wednesday evenings at 6.
That's right, Coach.
Yeah, what was I thinking? It's just
So
not
are you coaching the line?
Yeah.
Or are you an offensive coordinator?
defensive coordinator, offensive line, and defensive line. I have never coached kids that age. That's the problem.
It's fun. It's
It is.
It's like
It is.
middle
I mean,
school.
they're sponges, and I have to make sure the other guys that are coaching, some of the coach with me, I said, now don't let me go into an area that they can't comprehend or understand. And I'm a foundations coach. For example, you don't take anything for granted. And I learned yesterday we were doing a drill, a little punch drill like offensive linemen would do, hitting a bag and then seat roll to the next bag. Still don't sled. That was another thing we always did in high school. We don't have a sled. I had kids had no idea what a seat roll was. Not a clue.
Yeah.
Even after demonstrating, they couldn't comprehend how to do that.
But they'll know it in a couple of weeks. or
Well, I
less.
told them we practiced the first day we spent 20 minutes just getting in a stance.
And there you go.
Butt up, head up, back flat, where to put your feet, weight on your hands, those kind of stuff. And I told them, I said, you're going to get sick of doing this. I said, but that's what you're supposed to do because when you're playing, you don't have time to think about technique. That just has to come naturally. You just automatically.
Yeah.
You know where to line up. You know how to line up. You look at the defense based on the play that's called, and then you make some determinations of what you've got to do. That's where the thinking comes in. But if you have to think about, now step with this foot, and I have
Well, they're
going to
do
this.
that. They're still going to do it. It's going to take them a while to do that. You're
I know.
right.
But we're gonna drill that in their
Yeah,
heads.
give
We're
them a
gonna
bunch of
drill-
attaboys.
Yeah.
Do that.
And you do.
Yeah.
And you do. We're like kind of like with high school, 6 days just I'm sorry, 3 days just helmets, then 3 more days with pads, no contact, and then on seventh day you can hit.
Is there science behind that, by the way?
No. Same thing it's been since you and I played.
But why? Division I college football teams are practicing. High school teams are now just starting to practice. Division II college football teams won't start until this weekend.
Mhm.
I mean, what's the difference in? And they
You
got
know,
to do the same thing. They can go out football in helmets. It doesn't get into pads and varsity football kind of thing until
I don't get it. I don't
6
get
or 7 days.
And the big thing.
no 3 days.
Thank you, Brian. Good
no
morning,
2
Milton.
days.
The thing about it, it's supposed to be to get your body ready, and of course today, even the kids that we've got, and I'm sure Brian's seeing it at the high school level, you got kids that haven't been off the couch all summer till football started.
Yeah.
I mean, you just haven't. Now you got to. So you got to get them in shape.
And you got to do it slowly.
You
I
got to
understand
get it
that.
ready. Yeah. A lot of stretching because things just aren't working like
Yeah,
they
that's
should. And
I do that now, and I'm 63.
me too. Now I don't do a lot of demoing at practice. I can go ahead and tell you. Of course, when I was coaching high school 25 years ago, it didn't bother me to hit. I didn't have to have pads.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me to line up. But I couldn't do it now. Wouldn't want to do it now.
You throw out something or
way too old. Way too old for that. But
you can demonstrate in air.
I do that.
Okay.
I do that.
Okay.
My demonstration of a seat roll was very, very slow.
But the footwork and the arms and where to place the hands and everything, you can do that in air.
Yeah.
So no sleds. You get not even one sled, like a one person.
Oh, I'm probably stupid enough to do that. Yeah, or do a hand shiver.
Okay.
Down a sled. Yeah. Be really slow getting up the next day. I can tell you this: I come in here and I work all day. I don't even go home. We got practice at 6. When I leave practice, Monday night, Addison and I met at Three Hermanos.
Yeah.
Home, sat down for about 5 minutes to visit with the dog, shower, see y'all tomorrow. That's it. I mean, after 12, 14 hours, that's about all I can do. You're right, Milton. Gravity is a law, not a theory. Age is too.
Yes,
it's not a theory. I just can't.
When do you guys play your games?
Mostly on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
I think the season of games actually starts let me look at the calendar right quick.
What's the name of your team?
I'm just there. The 9th, the Saturday after Labor Day.
Okay.
But I think that's an open week for us, so we won't start till the following week. And I think they play about 6 or 7 games and then playoffs. And it's Catawba County. If I understood it right, we should be getting a schedule because everybody that was going to have a team had to have it into whoever puts the league together by Monday. But, usually it's Maiden and Hickory, and I don't think Hickory's having a team this year. Couldn't get enough kids. Maiden and Bandy's, Bunker Hill, Hickory, St. Stephen's, Ford.
Okay. That's surprising. Maybe somebody ought to contact Coach Glass.
Here's what it is. No, this is what it is. These kids are 6th and 7th graders, I think, 11 and 12 years old. Wouldn't that be right? 6th and 7th?
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th. Okay.
Well, I guess it could be 7th grade. They can turn 13.
Yeah. So
later in the year,
you can play middle school football.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an option for the kids that, especially if you're a 7th grader and all you're going to do is ride the pine, this will give you an opportunity to get another years of experience in.
You can do both. Those kids are good enough. Do
they let you?
Yeah, you can do both.
Okay.
Yeah. We had kids that did that before when I was coaching at the middle school level. We had kids that played a travel ball or whatever they called it back then. But, yeah.
Okay.
Especially 7th graders who probably, like you said, are not going to be playing.
Not going to get a lot of
But they have
action.
something called the 5th quarter, which is like JVs.
Yeah.
But still, for ones that really are anxious and eager to play, they can do something
so
like this.
So I think the thing that's hurting a little bit with Hickory is you've got 2 middle schools you're competing with in the Hickory system.
Yeah.
So I think those kids are kind of spread kind of thin at those schools. I will give you I found out yesterday some day one numbers from Lincoln County high schools in Maiden. Will told me Maiden had 80 kids out.
That's JV and varsity.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
And they said that was the largest number it had since his first year. Lincolnton had 55 total. West Lincoln had 71, if I'm not mistaken. And East Lincoln had 83 or 84. We never could get a report out of North, so we have no idea what North had. But it looks like numbers are pretty good for this year. And, of course, you'll just have to see. And you may pick up a few by the time school starts, and you may lose a few by the time school starts.
Oh, yes.
Especially now, it's even worse than it was when I came up as far as kids being able to get to practice when school's not in.
Yeah. That makes it very difficult.
And the other thing that I absolutely despised when I was coaching high school, did not want a work day on a Friday, on a game day. Because kids didn't come in unless you get them to come in and spend all day there with you, which was hard to do.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah. So I never liked that. I wanted kids in school.
Especially if you're in a setting where it's more rural, kids have to drive, or if you're in a more condensed area like Hickory where you can get kids that can just basically walk to school because they live not too far away.
And this is something that doesn't happen now, and part of it's due to license restrictions. You would find an upperclassman that you could hitch a ride with to get to practice. I did.
Yeah.
But now, if you're not a family member, you can't ride with them if they haven't been driving for so
really?
long. Oh, gosh, yeah. You didn't know that?
You can't pick up some buddies?
Oh, no. No, not your first year driving. Somebody can correct me on that knows more.
So you have a 17-year-old kid that's on the team, and he's got some buddies?
You're limited. I'm pretty sure you're limited.
You're limited?
Mm-hmm. If they're non-family.
You're limited? How do you? What are they going to do if
No,
they're non-family?
I'm just saying.
You are such a rule follower.
I didn't say I followed the rules. I'm just telling you what the rules are. Let's see.
I mean, that's a switch from when I grew up. I mean,
yes.
Somebody come by in a pickup truck and say, "Come on, let's go," or somebody would be driving a van.
Yep.
Or everybody had a vehicle when I was 16, 17 years old. They weren't the best vehicles, but you go around and pick up some of your teammates.
I'm looking here to see. You get a regular Class C is 16 years of age, a regular Class A or B, 18 years of age, and I'm looking for young drivers. Here we go. 3 levels. We're down a rabbit hole. For a person under 18, if you, let's get out a learner's permit, provisional license, had to be at least 16 and less than 18. And to get that provisional, you have to have had your learner's permit for 1 calendar year. Used to be, you couldn't even get your learner's permit when I was in school till you were 15 and a half. But if you got your learner's permit a week before your driver's license, you go back and get your driver's license in a week. It was none of that. But now you have to keep a log and all this kind of stuff. And then the other problem that you have in that level 1, you've had to have a limited learner's permit for at least 12 months, not been convicted of motor vehicle moving violation or seatbelt infractions during the preceding 6 months, and passed a road test by DMV. Level 2, where did I see? Here we go. You got to get to level 2 to haul anybody. Okay? Level 2, holding a limited provisional license, may drive without a supervising driver driving to and from work, may drive without a supervising driver when driving to and from an activity, volunteer fire, rescue, EMS if the driver's a member, may drive without a supervising driver for any purpose from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. You've got kids in that first year of getting your license that really can't drive home from a ball game because it's after 9 o'clock.
They put these rules in. It's been like this for years. I didn't know this.
Must drive at any other time with a supervising driver when the supervising driver is seated beside the license holder, but need not be the only front seat passenger. There may be no more than 1 passenger under the age of 21 years old in the vehicle. This limit does not apply to the license holder's immediate family. That's brothers and sisters, not cousins. 1. That's it. 1.
Man. Did they do these during COVID so they had so much time on their hands?
Oh, God, no. This has been going on.
Forever.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Camden's 24, so it was there 8 years ago. Yeah. I know it was there at least 8 years ago. So there you go. And that's, I mean, we would have people piled up coming to practice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So much for team building activities.
There you go. And then the after 9 is always a thing. And you noticed in those restrictions, didn't say anything about coming home from a school event that you could drive without a supervising driver that first year of driving after 9 o'clock. It was a big deal to get your after 9 license so you could drive by yourself after 9 o'clock.
I don't remember that.
That was
in Pennsylvania.
That was not real back in our day.
Yeah.
That was not real back in our day. All right, we got a topic, and who's joining us at 8:45?
We're going to talk a little
Josh Carney.
Josh Carney, a little pro football.
Okay.
Training camp's underway, and they got the pads on, so they're playing real varsity football now. No more football in shorts and helmets.
I'm going to give you a story that I saw yesterday in The Athletic by Austin Mock, and it's kind of
He's the guy that came up with the mock draft?
Yes. I think that's correct.
Okay. The mock draft.
We're going to take a break and be back in a minute.
All right.
Don't pay attention to him.
Whether Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. And welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you. August the 2nd, 75 degrees, partly sunny skies outside. Talking about some rain towards the end of the week, 40, 50, 60% chance. And at one time, the extended forecast for the end of the week was like 70s for highs.
Oh.
Which was
yeah,
really nice.
Well, I'm sure you go to the mountains, it'll be that way. If not the 60s.
Kiever was at Grandfather Mountain yesterday. It was 69 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
could take that.
Yeah, I could too.
Let's see. Let me check the 10-day here. The 10-day Thursday is 76 degrees, 70% chance of showers.
Here.
Friday is 76 degrees,
Here.
70% chance of showers.
Really?
And then the hottest day in the next 10 is going to be Sunday, 88, 40% chance of showers. The rest of the time it's around the mid-80s.
I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was telling you I saw this article yesterday about ACC projected wins. And here's what this author came up with. And it's kind of a betting article.
And you
to
can
some
now,
extent.
as we were discussing a little bit off air, the betting gambling thing has now gone online. We'll go online pretty soon in North Carolina, just in time for the Super Bowl. But you can now bet through, on the Indian lands or whatever. You can now bet on college events starting this year.
Yeah. Go down to
4 Kings, 5 Kings. What's it
yeah, something like that. And you had Kings in it, but it's down
Kings
Kings
Mountain. Yes.
Yeah. A bunch of hooked together mobile office trailers is what it is.
Yeah.
I'll wait till it comes online. I'm not a huge gambler.
I think there are 38 states now that will have gambling sporting events.
Yeah. Clemson and Florida State are projected to be the ones to battle it out for the ACC title. Clemson was the last team to make the playoff, and it's been 3 years, 2020. Florida State has to go back to 2014, last time it was in playoffs. Notre Dame, if you want to count them, because they're not counted as a conference member, did it in 2020. But Clemson and Florida State, according to this article, absolutely dominated the ACC for the last decade plus. In fact, outside of Pitt in 2021, those two have won every ACC championship since 2011.
Yes, that is impressive.
12 years.
Yeah.
So what's in store? They're saying they're going to continue to be the dominant programs inside. Now, here's what he gave: 2 things. Conference wins, okay? It's called X wins, the average win total over the model simulation. Florida State at 9.6, Clemson at 9.7. I think it'll be higher than that. Florida State, according to his model, is 40.2% chance of winning the conference title. Clemson at 37.8%. And this year there's no divisions, so the top 2 teams will play in the championship game.
Okay. So you're still looking at 40, each of them about 40% chance.
6 or more wins, Florida State and Clemson are both at 99.8, which is bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
Now, here's the startling thing. The next closest team to get a sniff, according to his model, is Louisville at 7.6%.
No.
Now,
his model.
Other odds makers have Carolina in the number 3. He's got them at number 4 at 6%.
Where's Pitt at?
Number 5, 2.8%.
2.8%.
77.9% chance of winning 6 ball games. Syracuse and State at 1.5%, Duke at 1.1%, Wake at 0.7%. Here's the startling ones, okay? Miami at 0.5% chance of winning the conference. Where did they go to? And then dead last, in the last 2 places, another one that just absolutely blows my mind, Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. Those were national powers when they came into the conference.
Yeah.
Virginia and Virginia Tech are at 0% chance of winning the conference. Wake Forest, Miami, Boston College, and Georgia Tech are less than 1% chance of winning the conference. Virginia only has a 10.6% chance of winning 6 or more games. And Virginia Tech's not much better at 17.1%, and Georgia Tech at 19.3%. What has happened to those programs?
Well, I think mainly because some of those other teams, like a Wake Forest, have risen. Mm-hmm. That's one of them.
I just don't get it.
And honestly, there are only so many really good football players out there anymore. And everybody, all these schools now, it's become more of a science in how to get recruits, especially at the Division I level. Plus, I think you can get better quicker instead of going through the 3 or 4 year cycle of a new coach coming in and putting his stamp on it, like 3 or 4 years through the portal and whatnot. That you can get better quicker, and maybe some of these programs will come out of nowhere. Maybe a Virginia Tech, maybe they did well in the portal, and maybe you'll see them do better. Maybe Pitt will rise up. Maybe I would think one of those schools will rise up and at least have a better chance. I mean, who thought last year Wake Forest was going to be so good for a long period of time?
Mm-hmm.
I know they lost their quarterback who went to Notre Dame, but Dave Dorn, they got a heck of a program there. They've been putting together and recruiting, developing, and getting those players to get to the point that they need to be 2- and 3-star recruits, and they keep them there for 2 or 3 or 4 years, and they compete for a championship every year.
And Richie's right. Fonte happened to Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
Virginia Tech missed the boat when they did not hire the defensive coordinator. Had been there for so long. When
Foster, right?
Is it Foster?
I think so. Coach Foster. What's his first name?
I can't remember, but he was the defense coordinator for a long time, and they let him get away.
I think he retired eventually.
He did, but they didn't give him an opportunity, and that was wrong, in my opinion. Now, if you're a betting person, and if I understand this correctly, because here's the deal, I'm not a betting person, so I'm guessing here. According to BetMGM Sportsbook, Clemson is plus 140. So I'm guessing that you bet 100, you win 140 if they win the conference. Florida State's plus 170. Carolina's plus 900. Louisville is plus 1,000. And State is plus 2,000.
I'm sure you can find somebody that can explain that specifically, because I think you're right. Again, I don't follow it that much either.
But I believe that is correct. I think that's a $100 bet would pay you 140. Now, who is going to be this year's TCU and beat the odds like TCU did last year? He's throwing in there Louisville and Carolina because they're in the next tier. Jeff Brom comes from Purdue.
Yeah, to his alma mater.
Okay, with Louisville. Scott Satterfield went to Cincinnati, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, for Carolina, all the hopes are pinned on Drake May, who's expected to be a likely 1 or 2 top pick in the NFL draft the following year.
And contender for the Heisman Trophy. But they got a new offensive coordinator.
That's correct, and that's exactly what they're saying. The rest of the conference is really hard to back. Pitt, Syracuse State, Duke. Duke's got a quarterback, Riley Leonard. And then,
and the kid from Newton Conover's first team All ACC.
Yes, I saw an article in the Hickory Daily Record about him.
And Brandon Johnson. Yeah,
he thinks Duke has a high ceiling. And here again, Duke is at 125 to win 6.5 games. And that would be bet 100 to win 125, I think, for Duke to win 7 games. Now, they say Riley Leonard, the quarterback, he's a 150 to 1 odds of winning the Heisman. So he's at least in the conversation, not highly thought of, but in the conversation. I just don't know how these teams get back to competitiveness. Because one of the things, and you know this like I do, at any level, once you slip,
it's tough to get back there.
But you're not going to get the kids that are in the portal. Well, you and I both know that the kids are going in the portal because they couldn't be happy somewhere else.
A lot of them.
Predominantly.
Yes.
That's the majority.
Unless you get guys that are graduates and they're going in there for 1 or 2 years.
And do they have to go through the portal if you're a graduate student? Do you still have to go through the portal, or can they just openly recruit? Bud Foster, thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
Bud Foster. Or can they just openly recruit you?
Oh, I think they can openly recruit you. Yeah. Well,
Richie says the state of Virginia is also being rated by places like Penn State, Michigan, Carolina, Clemson, among others that are taking the better players.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. Clemson has always done well recruiting Virginia and Florida and Georgia.
And who's got a really good FCS program in Virginia, too, that they get a lot of transfers? James Madison. They've been really good for a long time.
Richmond used to be.
Yeah.
Not as much now. The Spiders used to be one of those
I saw East Carolina's getting players from Virginia now. So, I mean, yeah. The recruiting being what it is, yeah, it's, again, because there are only enough really good – there are only enough 3 or 4 or 5-star football players out there.
Richie says for Carolina to do anything, their defense has to get better by miles. Well, here's the deal. Mack is back, but Mack's not a defensive guy. And supposedly, who's the defense coordinator now? Didn't he just –
Chizik.
Gene Chizik. So he's got a guy that does defense, but you still got to get the players.
We got to get guys that want to. You can get players. You got to get guys that have the want to play defense.
But the guys that want to come and play in college now are not playing for that school's success as much as they're trying to build their resume to get into the league.
To build value so they can move up to the next level.
Right.
Again.
And players have seen that you don't have to be at a top-tier program to be able to go to the league and make it if you can play.
But again, we're looking at less than 10% of these kids that make it to the NFL, maybe 3%.
Yeah. Milton says NCAA football is going to have 8 exceptional teams. Everything else is mediocre. Now, I have to agree with Keever a little bit in that Keever has said he liked going to the 12 because now at least – as a school, you can say they're taking 12 teams. We've got an opportunity to get there. Before, when it was only 4, there was only about 5 teams that could make 5 or 6 teams that you really felt good would make that 4 team.
You might have like a TCU with an upset in the first round. Like if you go to 12 teams, like they upset Michigan last year. But I don't think they would have the talent nor the depth to make a run at winning 2 or 3 games to get into a championship game.
Yes.
Maybe one-time shot. Maybe upset somebody in the first round, but not to go all the way.
But does it not make you a more attractive destination for a player if you have been there?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Good morning, Stephen.
I mean, all you have to do is look at the FCS level or even Division II level. That it's no coincidence that the same schools are in the playoffs every year.
Yes.
At those levels.
And there's a reason for that, because you still have some players that still want to go be a part of something. And I think, from my point of view, you got to get out of FBS to find players and programs that are really serious about the program as a whole. And not as a stepping stone, if that makes it's not viewed as the minor leagues to get into the league.
Yeah,
players that are going to Division II schools, Division III, even FCS, are going there because they want to play and they want to compete for something. They may have that one little tickle in the back of their mind that says, I might make the league, but that's not why they're there. I remember, and I've told the story before, when I started ESPN in Charlotte, I had Coach Ford come on. And one of the first questions I asked him was, based on your experience, when did the, philosophy of players change from I want to go to Program A to win conference championships and compete for a national title to I want to go to Program A because that's the best shot that I've got of getting noticed to get into the league. When did that change?
Yeah, they'll train me and develop me to get to the NFL.
Minor league. Yeah. So when do you think that changed? When did that mentality of players change?
Probably 15, 20 years ago.
Okay. I had him on, and this would have been about 9 years ago.
Okay. I'm thinking about the time that Saban arrived at Alabama.
That was like 11 or 12, I think. I think he's been there that long. But that's when it started to change?
In my opinion, yeah. And then it's accelerated now with everything, with the portal and everything.
Right. And
then the advent of social media too. These players, they put everything out there that they could think that it'll get an attraction, and
Yep.
next thing you know, they'll wind. And the agents, I would probably say 10 to 15 years ago is when it started to see the sea change.
Let me ask you a question just to switch gears just a little bit before we take a break and then have Josh on. What's your thoughts on all the talk that's out there about how do we fix running backs getting paid?
It's simple.
Okay.
That's
great because nobody else has got it figured out. That's awesome.
Tear up the player agreement with the owners.
That's not going to happen.
Well, they got 7 more years of it,
Mm-hmm.
but then they got to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or fire the guy who's the head of the players union. He's the one that negotiated it. I think he's just retired. So
should they do away with the 5th-year option?
That's something to be negotiated with. It depends on. I mean, the teams probably. I mean, I like your idea and other people's ideas of don't sign these long-term contracts, make it 2 or 3 years.
What about running backs coming out after 2 years? So I don't think you can do that because you can't just specify it by position.
No, you can't do that.
Because colleges they get all the wear and tear out of a running back before they get to the league.
I heard Bill Polian on a podcast not too long ago, and he was involved in all this stuff with the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
And he said there's all bukus of evidence out there that players hit the wall at the age 27, 28 year.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they hit their peak. So if you're running back and you come out 21, 22 years old, and you are a first-round draft pick, you get the 5th-year option, you're 26, 27. So
they can replace you for a lot less money.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it is. And Polian was saying that running backs their shelf life's only good for 5 or 6 years before they hit the wall. Now there are going to be exceptions, but most of them, because there's enough evidence out there, when they hit 27, 28,
running backs have become an expiring commodity.
Yeah,
because I can pick another one off the shelf to get me.
Unless you're like a first-round running back, like throw out a first-round draft pick recently.
Not in a running back position.
Well, Christian McCaffrey, last year in the NFL, they had a couple of guys that were drafted in the first round.
He's a unicorn. He's not just a running back. That's the key with McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And that's why he's been successful.
Well, I mean, Saquon Barkley, you have Najee Harris with the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
All those guys that I think there's a separator. Do you want to go with a first, provided they stay healthy, do you want to go with the first, you want to draft somebody in the first round if it's good enough, keep him for 5 or 6 years, run him as much as you can run him, and pay them whatever the going rate is? Or do you want to go and draft what the Packers have done? They get guys in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds, and you get 2 or 3 guys, and you should have them share the load, and you pay each of them $2 million or $3
running
million.
back by committee.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's where most people have went.
Yeah. But, I mean, look at who are the best teams.
Oh, I know. Well,
I mean, look at what the Eagles did. The guy that ran mostly with the Eagles signed with the Panthers. And he's getting ready to hit his 27, 28 year. So I don't know.
And Kansas City had a 1,000-yard rusher that was a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they got the guy under centers. That's the difference.
I know. Right. I get that. And that's why the running back position doesn't have the value that it used to have.
No. Unless you have a guy that's the bell cow.
Yeah.
Like the guy
but nobody's looking for a bell cow in the running back position anymore. They're just not.
No.
I don't think. Phil, good point. Phil Ayers, good morning. Western Carolina's head coach Kerwin Bell, former Florida State Gator quarterback, is recruiting South Florida heavily. Signed Santana Fleming, a 3-star recruit, Under Armour All-American game.
Isn't that where he came from, too? I mean, he's been in a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
But I think
so.
He was the offensive coordinator down there, so he probably has some deep connections.
You've already got those, yeah. Richie said, I have started seeing schools that aren't going all out on NIL change their recruiting strategies. They're going after a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. They're going after the mid to high 3 stars and then filling in spots with the 4 or 5 star players. Milton said most running backs are only lasting about 5 years, and you look at Todd Gurley. And you look at some of these running backs that were almost wore out by the time they got to the league anyway. Now, going back to what Richie said with the 4 and 5 stars, the teams that have been your dominant teams in the NFL, they have spent their money at quarterback, left tackle, defensive tackle, or edge rusher, and corners. They feel like that's the place to put your star money in, and then you fill in. So the same thing. If you were recruiting in college, you're looking for that 4 or 5 star for those positions.
There are only so many
and you go
like
get
25 5-star, 4-star guys out there. 25.
You go get a 2 or 3 star right guard because you need a body. So.
Or you get as many 2 and 3 stars as you can, and you have a program where you develop them.
Yeah. Let me take a break. Josh Carney's going to join us on the other side. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange.
Welcome back. We'll move on to a little bit of NFL talk as Josh Carney joins us from the Steelers Depot. Josh, good morning.
Good morning.
We were just discussing before we went to break and brought you on the current situation with running backs in the league. And, of course, if there's ever been a franchise that really coveted running backs and what they brought to the game, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that mentality is even changing there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Obviously, it feels like, Najee Harris is still going to be that bell cow. Mike Tomlin is a guy that likes those bell cow running backs, but I think we saw it last year Jalen Warren got a little bit more work and kind of split some carries with Najee Harris. But I think that they're finally catching up to the times in the NFL where you kind of need that split backfield. You can't have that true workhorse anymore.
Hey, Josh, thanks for joining us. Hey, I wanted to ask you, the kid from locally from down here, Alex Highsmith, recently signed a big contract extension. Is he the kind of guy that's going to end up being as I guess, what is the term, the Robin to the Batman of Watt, or is he about ready to break out and have a fantastic next couple of years as an edge rusher?
I do think he's about to break out and have a great next couple of years. I really think he's coming into his own. Mike Tomlin has said before that Alex Highsmith is an elite Robin, so that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think he's ever going to be on the same level as a T.J. Watt or some of these other pass rushers in the NFL, like a Max Crosby or, any of the other highest paid guys. But I think he's going to consistently put together double-digit sack seasons. I don't know that he's ever going to reach 14.5 sacks again. I think that was, a little bit outside of what he normally could do. But I do think he's going to have consistent seasons. He's really going to come into his own, and you're going to hear him talked about a little bit more when it comes to some of the top pass rushers overall.
When you look at the Steelers and the quarterback situation, Kenny Pickett coming into his second season, one thing I remember from last year, and I've read some things that he struggled with, was, I guess, inside the red zone and some big chunk plays. Once you get inside the red zone, I think probably the Steelers at least fixed some of that with what they did in the draft and free agency. But when you look at and what you've seen so far, do you see or expect, in your opinion, that there will be a noticeable jump in the play of Kenny Pickett in his second season?
I think so. I think that there is more of an emphasis on searching for those chunk plays. They're really putting an emphasis on, running after the catch here in training camp. That was a big thing that they were missing, with catching the ball in stride and making plays after the catch. I think you're seeing Matt Canada try to implement that a little bit more. I think you're going to see the middle of the field used a lot more here this year. As far as the red zone goes, though, I mean, they've added significant size and playmaking. You look at Allen Robinson comes in as the veteran number 3 receiver. If you think about it, last year, the Steelers, they traded away Chase Claypool, and their number 3 receiver was Steven Sims. So that can significantly hinder things down in the red zone from a size standpoint. Then you had Darnell Washington, 6'7". You could throw it up to the goalpost and have him go get it. So I think you're going to see a jump with Kenny Pickett. He already looks, more comfortable, more decisive overall. He's really taken ownership of this offense. He's got all the pieces around him. So I really think it comes down to, Matt Canada and Mike Tomlin kind of trusting him a little more and being a little more aggressive offensively. And if the first few days of camp are any indication, this team's going to push the ball down the field, take some shots, and hopefully put up more than 18.1 points per game here in 2023.
We're talking with Josh Carney out of Steelers Depot. Are you telling me that the Steelers and Mike Tomlin are changing their philosophy a little bit about how they want to play the game?
Yes and no. I think Tomlin is still going to be that coach that, wants to run the football, wants to shorten games, minimize mistakes offensively, and then lean on his defense to win some close games. But I think he understands that you still need that high-scoring offense. You need those explosive plays in today's game. I know last year he made a comment here right before training camp started that he really, last year, that offensive philosophy was about minimizing mistakes. And I thought, down the stretch they did a good job of that. They had that balance. But when you load up like you have around Pickett this year, you bring in the pieces that they did along the offensive line, pass catchers and all that, you have to change your philosophy a little bit. And I think Tomlin's smart enough as a coach to realize that, it's not the 1990s and early 2000s anymore. You can't, run the football 45 times a game and shorten it out and win 13-10 games. You need your offense to be able to win some shootouts. So I think they are changing the philosophy a little bit. I think he's going to give Pickett, a little more leeway, put some more trust in him. And then it really, at that point, it comes down to Matt Canada calling the right plays. And knowing when to dial things up. And when it comes to that, I'm still a little skeptical.
Well, and they always say, I used to complain about, and I cannot remember his name, that was the offense coordinator with the Panthers forever, Dan Henning.
Dan Henning.
Because he was so predictable and so conservative. And then I was told, well, do you not understand that those plays go through John Fox's headphones, and John Fox will decide where they're going to do it. It's hard for that defensive coach to get out of his own way. I understand the concept that defense wins championships. I get that. But if you can't get enough points on the board, you can't get in the game to play for a championship.
Right, and obviously, I think the Steelers are still going to lean heavily on their defense. I mean, they're the highest-paid defense for a reason. They've got great players at all three levels. I do think that Tomlin realizes that there are going to be some games where they have to open it up, and I think he fully trusts Pickett. I think we started to see that down the stretch last year, and there was a story that came out that Pickett was involved with the offensive game planning, early on Mondays into Tuesdays, so that he could get a jump on preparing. So I think you're going to see more trust in the young quarterback. You're going to see some of the the reins taken away. They're not going to be pulled back as much with Pickett, but it is hard for those defensive coaches to make that adjustment, and I think that's why Tomlin has tried to, in the past, have those true offensive minds, those innovative minds at offensive coordinator. It hasn't always worked out, but it is hard for a defensive coach to kind of change his stripes in a sense. But Tomlin's been doing this 17 years, and I think he's shown at times that he knows when to change, when to get with the times, and kind of be that flexible coach overall.
Crystal ball, based off the schedule and what you've seen so far, and I think for those in the betting lines, they're saying the Steelers 8.5 maybe wins this year. What do you think, Pittsburgh? Are they a 10-win team? Can they get to 10 wins this year and maybe contend for the AFC Central or the AFC North?
I think they get to 11 wins. I have the team pegged as an 11-6 team. I think they're a playoff team. I know the AFC is absolutely loaded. I know the AFC North is loaded. But this team, there was just something about it down the stretch last year. Some people can cite the level of competition. I understand that. But they found their identity. They found that balance. When this team was healthy, they were, an elite-level defense. They were a consistent offense. They've only gotten better this offseason, and with Pickett going into year 2, you're expecting that leap at that position. The schedule is pretty weak, so they should take advantage of that. I see this team as 11-6. I don't think that they are as good as the Bengals, so I don't see them competing for the AFC North Championship, although Joe Burrow's injury is worse than expected. That could all change. And I do think this is a playoff team. They just have that look. They have that makeup overall. And once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen with the style of play that they're kind of aiming for.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here looking at the schedule. When you said that, I usually go through, and I'm sure you do the same thing. You go through when you're picking what you feel like the record will be, you want to go through and, okay, I think this is a win, this is a win, this is a loss. When you look at that 11-win season, tell me the teams that you feel like the Steelers can't win. I mean, when I look through here, I see some teams. I don't think they can beat San Francisco. I'm not sure they can beat Baltimore because it's emotional. Depending upon how the Chargers play with Herbert, that may be a tough game. Going to be tough against Cincinnati. But you're right. There are a lot of easier games on here.
The games at the end of the year, they're at Seattle and at Baltimore.
Yeah. But, I mean, I can see wins against Arizona and New England and Indianapolis. Jacksonville and Tennessee may surprise you. Green Bay shouldn't be a problem. They shouldn't have a problem with the Browns or the Raiders or Houston. But there's still some – I guess there's still some teams in there that are almost a coin flip when I look at it.
I think that's
that's kind of where I'm at. I do have a little bit of concern, obviously, with the Week 1 game against the 49ers. I know that Brock Purdy's coming back from the, Tommy John surgery, the elbow injury, whatever you want to call it. But that's the best defense in football. I know the Steelers want to be, their goal is to be the best defense in football. But that's San Francisco for me. for sure. So that's a game that I've chalked up as for sure a loss. You know, I kind of have them splitting with Cincinnati. I do have them, quite honestly, this might surprise both of you, I have them sweeping Baltimore. They know how to play Lamar Jackson for some reason, and those are emotional games, and yeah, they can go either way, but they have Lamar's number overall. Cleveland, I'm not too worried about, but there are games on the schedule. That Seattle trip late in the year, that's a West Coast trip that they're going to be banged up. That's a physical Seattle team. So I got concerns there, but really the only one that's on the schedule where I'm like, yeah, I can't see them winning that game is week 1, surprisingly.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. San Francisco. I think you're right.
Yep.
That's going to be one of the tougher teams that's out there. You do have a number of teams that are on the schedule that have got their own issues, not really having all the pieces they need to get to the next level. But there's some, I want to call them middle of the road, that depends on how they mature and how they kind of gel together, whether they're going to be able to put some wins together or not. I get concerned, and I've been a lifelong Pittsburgh fan. I get concerned because this is not a league that you can kind of settle back and be conservative in anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, you 100% have a point there. You can't be conservative, historically in this league at this point. You look at, you want to win the Super Bowl, you want to lift the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year, you have to have a high-scoring offense, and you don't really need that elite-level defense. Look at this past year's Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. It was 38-35, and I don't think either of those teams had a top 5 defense, mm-hmm. but they were top 5 offenses. So I think it's pretty clear how you need to win in this league, and I think the Steelers are trying to get to that. I don't think you're going to see this team be, the Big Ben era, the Killer B era offense where it was throwing the football 60 times a game. I think Tomlin saw that and realized we put such an emphasis on that we forgot about our defense. So I think they're trying to find that balance. And quite honestly, it would not surprise me if this team tries to play like Philadelphia. Now, granted, I know Pickett is not the athlete that Jalen Hurts is. I know he's not the running quarterback that Jalen Hurts is. But I think there is an identity there they can try and borrow from, where it's a creative running game. You've got a great defense overall. You've got explosive playmakers out wide. So I think that they could try and borrow from that Philly identity. But, yeah, you can't be conservative. I want to see Tomlin be a little more aggressive in-game, whether it's that 4th and 1 just inside opponent's territory. Go for it. If it's 4th and short, in your own end, and you feel you can get it, go for it. Take some shots down the field. Just be aggressive, and you can't sit back and hope your defense wins games in this league. It's just asking too much of them. I know that they're the highest paid for a reason. They're going to keep you in every single game. I don't think there's any game on the schedule where it's like, yeah, they're going to get blown out. Mm-hmm. You can stay in games that way, but you've got to be aggressive offensively. And that's where I want to see Tomlin take that step this year, at least situationally.
From a time standpoint, you cannot run an offense that takes you 8.5 minutes in ball control to go score when you're playing a team that can put up 6 and tie you or go ahead in 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you got that good defense, if you've got explosive big plays that can happen, you got to try to make some of those happen yourself. I think the ball control days in the NFL are over.
Yeah, I think so. And, I know that Tomlin said he wanted to do that last year to kind of minimize mistakes. I do think it helps if you have that balance offensively. Obviously, everybody wants the 2 or 3 play drive, 75 yards, you have a big explosive play. But I do think over the course of a season, having that consistent 10, 12, 13 play drive, you have an advantage in time of possession of, say, 35-25 in a game. That's going to demoralize teams. And, if you have that elite level defense on the other side of the football and they're only on the field 25 minutes a game, they're going to be fresh late in the year. So there's a balance that they need to find. We can't have this, gosh, there was a 20-play drive they had last year, I think, in Carolina.
Yeah.
Can't have that. You can't do that. You can't win that way consistently. But those 10, 11, 12-play drives, where you eat up 6 or 7 minutes on the clock and you have a big time of possession advantage. I think that still works, but you've got to have balance. You still got to be able to hit explosive plays. I think Pittsburgh only had 20 double explosive plays last year, which is 40-plus yards. I think they were dead last in that category. Yeah. That can't happen. That can't happen. I'm not asking for a Chiefs-level explosion, but just get middle of the pack, find that balance, and I think this team can be really successful. They have all the pieces.
I agree. Josh Carney, thanks for taking the time with us here on a Wednesday morning, and I'm ready to get things started. Kicks off, I think, Thursday night with the Hall of Fame game, and then get through the boring preseason and get on to real football.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
appreciate
Josh.
it. Josh Carney joining us from the Steeler Depot. Final thoughts?
Well, when you look at the NFL right now, and it's a little bit about what you're talking about, but there are trends over the last couple of 3 years, and I mentioned this months ago. Up until the playoffs, not a single team in the NFL averaged 30 points a game. All this offense. Up until the final week of the regular season, not a single team averaged 30 points a game. Scoring is down since before COVID. So like 2019, I read this, since 2018 or 2019, scoring is down. That's even with the last couple of years with an extra game. Scoring is down about 6 or 7 points a game. Why? Defenses are allowing the offenses, they're backing off. They're playing zone defenses. They want the offenses to take their time and go down the field. Eventually, like you guys said, they'll make a mistake. They'll have a penalty or something like that, a quarterback sack, and that'll get you out of it. You can't do the 20-play drives like Josh was saying. What the Steelers need to do and what other teams need to do is once they get, say, inside the 50-yard line or 40 or 30, is to hit that big play. Don't take it down to the 20 because once you get in the red zone,
it's tough.
It's very tough, and the Steelers are one of the worst teams in the red zone last year. I think the Panthers are going to have the same problems that the Steelers had last year with the rookie quarterback.
I'm going to give you a homework assignment.
Okay.
Based on that.
Okay.
I would like to see the correlation on scoring being down and how much it was related to superstar players being unable to play. You know what I'm saying? We're having much more injuries than we used to.
Yeah.
And how much of that is accounted for because this receiver was down or this quarterback was down?
And you have all these.
What was it last year? There was 70 or 80 quarterbacks played or something different. It was an astronomical number because of injuries.
Yeah, and now this year you'll probably have the same thing. You'll have a bunch of different quarterbacks playing, and you'll have 16 new offensive coordinators. That's over half the league.
Right.
And if they don't get this thing going in the preseason, you can expect some of these teams to struggle early on.
You got one. Cooper Kupp's already going to miss the first few weeks of the regular season because of a hamstring. So I would just be curious to see how much of that has factored in what the injury level was from the offensive side of the ball, if there's a correlation there between
I'm sure there is.
Scoring being down. Because we've said over and over, the top attribute, in my opinion, for any player in any sport is availability. I don't care what you score, what you can run, how many tackles you make. If you're on the sidelines because you're injured, it doesn't matter.
And if you have these running quarterbacks, they're going to get hurt.
That's right. That's the other side of it.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of here, guys. Hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Stay cool. It's not going to be too bad. We'll see you next week.